Right now we're looking at 53 West 53rd Street, also known as 53 West 53. It's one of Manhattan's most striking new super talls, rising over 1,000 feet above Midtown Manhattan. It has a sharp, tapering spire and diagonal steel exoskeleton, making it look more like a sculpture than an actual luxury condominium, right here on New York City's Billionaires Row. Now here's the interesting thing. As you know, Billionaires Row is not here. It's not on 53rd Street. It's on 57th Street. That is the original Billionaires Row. However, 53 West 53rd is considered to be a Billionaires Row caliber building. And on today's walking tour, we're going to be talking about 53 West 53rd Street. Who is the developer on the deal? Who is the architectural genius behind this building? And then we will also be talking about the developer who started it all right here on Billionaires Row. So let's go ahead and cross the street. We're currently on 53rd Street and 6th Avenue, or Avenue of the Americas. We'll be standing right in front of 53 West 53rd Street so you can see that beautiful exoskeleton. And we'll talk a little bit about the architect, not only for the facade of the building, but also who did the architectural work and who designed the inside. If I point the camera towards Central Park, you'll see one of the crown jewels of New York City's Billionaires Row. This is the Steinway Tower, 111 West 57th Street. It is the skinniest residential apartment building in the entire world. And if you've ever watched Shark Tank, the cybersecurity billionaire Robert Herjavec just recently purchased a unit at Steinway Tower. Now what happened with Robert is he used to own a unit at 157 West 57th Street, which was the first building ever constructed on New York City's Billionaires Row. I believe he may have sold that unit and potentially done a 1031 exchange into Steinway Tower. I'm not too sure if that was the fact, but in any event, he is now the newest resident at the beautiful Steinway Tower, having an entire full floor unit there. I want to direct your attention to the main entrance here at 53 West 53rd Street. Now, the building was designed by Jean Nouvel. He's a Pritzker Prize-winning French architect, with the interiors done by the late Thierry Despont. It was developed by Hines along with the Pontiac Land Group, including partners such as Wall Street megabank Goldman Sachs, that is publicly traded under the ticker symbol GS. Now, the building was completed in 2019 and I believe ready for occupancy in 2020, just as the pandemic hit. So that absolutely hampered sales just a little bit. But ever since it was completed, it's been one of the most exclusive addresses in all of New York City, capping off the latest building on Billionaires Row. There's roughly 165 residences in the building. They range from one-bedroom apartments starting in the multi-million-dollar range, all the way up to full-floor penthouse homes that have been priced over $60 million. If you want to follow along today as I pan the camera up on this very interesting exoskeleton that the building has, if you go to streeteasy.com and look up the building 53 West 53rd Street, the crown jewel of this building is Penthouse 78. Now, Penthouse 78 is priced at an eye-watering $64,730,000. It spans 7 rooms in total, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, 7,455 square feet. Now, if you do the math, that prices the unit right around $8,600 per square foot. We'll talk about some of the amenities as we're looking back over 6th Avenue. One of its unique perks actually has nothing to do with the building itself. Not talking about the pools, not talking about the spas and all the interesting things that are inside the building. But we have to turn our attention a little bit further down the street to MoMA. One of the most unique perks here is cultural, because the tower literally rises out of the Museum of Modern Art's campus. Anybody who purchases a unit in this building, all owners will get a deeded benefactor level membership to MoMA, which essentially means you have access to private events and behind the scenes access. So it's not just a place to live, it's access to New York's art at the highest possible level. If I turn the camera here, you can see all the way down into the MoMA gift shop, which is connected to your residential building here, 53 West 53rd. It's a very, very unique perk. So for anybody who's interested in modern art and design, maybe 53 West 53rd is the building for you. But talking about some of the standard amenities in the building, there's over 30,000 square feet of resident-only space. This includes a 65-foot saltwater swimming pool. I'll say that again. 65-foot saltwater swimming pool surrounded by vertical gardens, an entire wellness center, a squash court, a golf simulator, a private screening room, and a residents-only restaurant that you can see right here. This is one of my favorite things about the building. You'll also see this on a lot of other Billionaires Row style buildings, such as 432 Park Avenue. You have a residents-only restaurant, but you also have a restaurant in 157 West 57th Street, and that restaurant is called The Living Room. Interesting fact here, you don't necessarily need to be a resident of 53 West 53rd to be able to eat here. I take clients here all the time, and it's actually quite good. But since it's in your building, you have perks of private dining. You could have chefs bring the food and staff bring the food all the way up to your individual unit right here at 53 West 53rd. And right now, I'll give you a quick look at the dining room of the restaurant right here at 53 West 53rd. It's really quite interesting. I don't know if you can see it, it may be a little bit difficult, but you can see into the dining room, and at night you could probably see it a little bit better. You can see people dining and eating. So let's say if you're visiting New York and you want to get a Billionaires Row experience, I would recommend you book a table to the restaurant 53. I'll show you some of the dining options here and some of the menus. It is an Asian fusion style restaurant. And for Billionaires Row, the prices aren't all that bad, to be honest. We'll now head to the corner of 6th Avenue, or Avenue of the Americas. Now, just recently, I believe in June, a 2-bedroom unit here on the 32nd floor sold for around $4.7 million. There's also current listings in the building, such as Unit 49A, if you'd like to follow along and look it up. It's asking about $15.3 million. And again, great views of Steinway Tower. In my personal opinion, if you take a look at some of the photos or even some of the YouTube videos showcasing many of the individual units at 53 West 53rd, I find it that the angular design of the exoskeleton eats into the views a little bit. You have all of these conjoining diagonal metal I-beams that can come across as they're blocking your Central Park views. And that is one of the main downsides of 53 West 53rd, in my personal opinion. Another downside that a lot of people don't notice until you're actually in the units is, again, the angular exoskeleton, which you'll see here. And I could explain a little bit more when I zoom in. So all the way up the building, it's not flush, right? It's not a straight line up and down. It kind of has these angular triangle lines sloping all the way up the side of the building, which eats into the ceiling heights and it eats into the square footage of some of the units. So if you're standing up straight in your apartment, right, but your ceiling is sloping like this to the ground, well, that is, in my opinion, ruined square footage, if that makes sense. So if you're thinking about purchasing a unit here, I would try to, as much as you can, if it's possible, avoid purchasing an apartment with a lot of angular design and sloping that'll eat into that square footage. Here's the back entrance of 53 West 53rd. And I'll try to zoom in on the exoskeleton again. You can see how it kind of goes in like a triangle. So if you're standing up close to the window, in some units you technically can't stand up all the way. So therefore, in my personal opinion, I find it that kind of eats into some of the square footage, or what I would like to call usable square footage. You have the Warwick Hotel just off to your left. I'll stand back to give you guys a clear-on shot of the lobby. The fixtures and the finishes of the building are quite nice. But I think if you were talking about, paying Billionaires Row price per square foot, I would advise that you stay actually on 57th Street, because you're going to have better views of Central Park, and you're going to have floor-to-ceiling glass windows that aren't obstructed by those angular exoskeleton designs. So the architect, Jean Nouvel, I think he did a great job for making the building aesthetically pleasing from the outside. However, when you're on the inside and you're walking the individual units, many of them can feel a little dark because of the obstruction from the angular beams, in my opinion. We'll now make a right on 6th Avenue, and we'll head all the way up to 57th Street, Billionaires Row, to talk about the developer who pioneered New York City's Billionaires Row. I wish I could show you a pure play example of exactly what I'm talking about. But if you look up 157 on Street Easy, and you just pull up any apartment, it could literally be any apartment, you'll notice the floor-to-ceiling glass windows have minimal beam obstruction. So you essentially have an entire wall of glass with Central Park frontage and City View frontage with zero obstruction. You're unfortunately not going to get that at 53 West 53rd in most of those units. You could also see what I'm talking about as it relates to the Steinway Tower here. If I zoom in, you could see that full wall of windows. There's not these angular designs that are cutting in the way of the views.
I'm gonna need you to.
4 hours of view. Alright, let's video.
So we captured the segment.
Damn, my audio fucked.
Here's the main 57th Street subway station. This is the F train. Another plus about living right on 57th Street is that Central Park is essentially your backyard. All the way on 53rd Street, it's a little bit of a walk. So you might be asking yourself, who started Billionaires Row? Who pioneered all of these super tall, 1,000 foot plus luxury skyscrapers on 57th Street? Now the answer to that is a development company that goes by the name of Extell, E-X-T-E-L-L. And the CEO and founder of that company is Gary Barnett. And it took him many, many, many years just to get the first project, which is 157 West 57th Street, up and off the ground. Because, as we've explained before, in New York City, you can't just buy a plot of land and build as tall as you want. It's not how it works. You also have to acquire the appropriate air rights and stack them on top of one another in order to achieve these great heights. Now, 157 West 57th Street stands just over 1,000 feet tall, and that was the first building ever constructed on Billionaires Row. You can see that kind of checkered blue glass pattern on the facade of the building. The architect on the deal for the outside was world-renowned famous architect Christian de Potsdam-Park. However, the interiors for the Park Hyatt and 157 were done by Thomas Hansen. And Thomas Hansen is an extremely talented architect who is also on the Sutton Tower development. That's one of his more notable projects that sits in Sutton Place, New York, on Manhattan's east side. Here is 111 West 57th Street. There's two components to this building. You have the original building, which is, well, was the Steinway piano headquarters. And then you have the ultra super skinny, ultra super tall, the skinniest residential apartment building in the world, 111 West 57th Street. The developer on this deal was JDS. There's a particular unit that I really like at 157. It's unit 35F. And the reason why I like it is because it actually has partial Central Park views. Many of you might be saying, well, isn't that a negative to have partial Central Park views? Wouldn't you want unobstructed Central Park views? Well, in my opinion, no. And I'll tell you why. Because from this particular unit, you're floating right on top of the Hampshire House, and you're floating right on top of the Essex House. So from your individual unit, you can see the beautiful and iconic Art Deco building that is on Central Park South, the Essex House, with a clear view of the Essex House sign. You have partial Central Park views, and to your left, you have an unobstructed view of Extel's new building that sits on Central Park West. If you ever get a chance or an opportunity to see that particular unit, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about as it relates to those floor-to-ceiling glass windows that are unobstructed by those beams. You know what? You know what, guys? Hold on one second. Let me make a quick call. Let me pull out my phone here and make a quick call and see what I could do. You know what? Since we're here, let's just go to the apartment. I think it'd be easier to explain this just by showing you the apartment. So I'll meet you guys upstairs in about 30 seconds. See you up there. The thing I like about 157 is you have these grand hallways that lead up to your apartment. And unlike a lot of buildings where they just kind of block everything off, even the hallways have really nice views. Here you can see the Essex House, you see the Hampshire House, all of Central Park, and great views of the Upper East Side. All right, everyone, welcome to Unit 35F here at 157. This is a pretty special apartment. 3 beds, 3.5 bathrooms. You come off to this beautiful foyer here. I love the layout of this one because right as you come in, you have a nice powder room. Love the red wallpaper. And then if you see from this side, you get Central Park views right as you come in. So if you kind of do a compare and contrast of a lot of the other buildings I've showed you on the channel, we talk about a lot of the pre-war, the 1929 Rosario Candela buildings are not really going to have these sweeping views, right? They may be a little bit more architecturally pleasing on the outside to some people, but you're not going to get these insane views like you would get at a 157, a Steinway Tower, or a Central Park Tower. So we're coming off the foyer here, and look at this grand entrance. You come right into the formal kitchen, as well as formal dining room and living room. The entire apartment is 2,400 square feet, a little over 2,400, 2,482 square feet to be exact. But this apartment maximizes the views. You have a massive chef's kitchen here. Again, all the nice custom cabinetry. So you're entertaining your guests, cooking nice meals, and taking in those beautiful views of Central Park. What's also cool is, as you know, 157, the building we're in right now, was developed by Extel. And the building that you see perfectly centered in your screen is yet another Extel building that is the tallest building on New York City's Upper West Side. Let's talk about the kitchen a little bit. One of the things I love about 157 are these islands. You might be asking yourself, well, where would you sit down? There's really no bar stools. The bar stools are in here. So as you pull this out, you'll have plenty of seating to eat some breakfast and take in those Central Park views as the sun is rising or the sun is setting. Beautiful TV space over here. You also have more built-ins into the island. This is a great wine cooler here, which I'll show all of you. I believe this can hold over 30 bottles of wine. I mean, imagine coming home, cracking a nice bottle of wine and taking in these insane views. I just love looking at the Essex House. I love that Essex House sign for whatever reason. You have all German appliances here by Miele. You have your warming oven, your regular oven, and then a warming drawer down below. You have a 5-burner gas stove here. Obviously, everything vents out. And then you have your refrigerator that is tucked away behind all the millwork, which I really like. The pantry is tremendous, which is right over here. There's tons of closet space, tons of pantry space. The layout is really, really nice. But here, this is actually my favorite thing about the apartment. All of the bedrooms are down this corridor here. So let's say if you're entertaining guests, you're throwing a fundraiser at your house or something like that, all of your guests could be totally secluded to your kitchen, dining room, and entertaining area. And you just shut that door and nobody goes into the privacy of the bedrooms while you have a powder room right off the foyer. So the layouts here are very, very good. We'll now kind of make this transition, and I'll give you a beautiful view of the park. I really like this Ames lounge chair right here. These are one of my favorite chairs. I would highly recommend it for any apartment. It is called an Ames lounge chair once again. Great seating space. You could see a little bit of the Steinway Tower, which is at 111 West 57th Street. And the owner of this apartment has done a very good job with all of these custom built-ins. You have a great family space. You could sit down on the couch, watch some TV, overlook the kitchen area here, which is quite nice. But hidden just off to the left side here, you have a great view of 53 West 53rd Street, which is another building that is considered to be a Billionaires Row-esque building. This building with the gold top you see right here is my old building. This is 106 Central Park South. I loved living in that building. And right here, I don't know if you could see it, but if we zoom in, you could see the chefs cooking some meals for the patrons at the New York Athletic Club down there. And then, of course, you could see some of the guests with their beautiful terraces at the Essex House. Just a sea of green on that park. It's unbelievable. All right, everyone, so let's go ahead and check out some of the bedrooms. But again, this is really the selling point of the entire apartment, are these floor-to-ceiling glass windows. So a lot of you think that perhaps these big glass skyscrapers don't look too visually appealing from the outside. But let me tell you, from the inside, these floor-to-ceiling glass windows, I mean, it's unbelievable being in here. It really is. The architect on this building for the outside is Christian de Potsdam Park, and the architect for the interiors is Thomas Hansen. So now we are in the wing of the bathrooms and the bedrooms. You have 3 bedrooms. We're going to check out the primary bedroom first. The bathrooms in the master suite or the primary suite at 157 is unbelievable. Everything is cloaked in marble. You have partial views of Central Park as you're laying down in your deep soaking tub. You have a double sink vanity right here. These are the exact vanities that are in the Park Hyatt Hotel, which is in this building. So if you like the fixtures and the finishes inside the bathrooms at the Park Hyatt Hotel in New York City, which is in this building, well, maybe you should consider buying a unit at 157 because you have all of those same fixtures. And again, you could see a little piece of 53 West 53rd. I want to direct your attention over here. Behind these 2 doors, door number 1 is your toilet and door number 2 is the shower. I love how they section it off here. This is one of my favorite features of the apartment. And again, you're going to see this exact same thing at the Park Hyatt Hotel at 157. So it's very, very private in here. Marble goes all the way up to the ceiling. Again, there's great Central Park views here. And wait until you see the shower. I mean, the shower is pretty unbelievable. You have this beautiful rainfall shower head. I'll try to stand back just so you could see a little bit better. I mean, look at that. You have all of these great built-ins here. Great tile work on the floor. And you have these windows that open up to your great views. So as you're taking a steam shower in here, you could look out over Central Park. It's a very, very unique experience being in here. Probably one of the most luxurious bathrooms that I've been in New York City. I'll give you one more look at the tub, because I think that's really the focal point of the bathroom, and then we'll go ahead and check out the primary suite, which also has some nice views. So now we are overlooking 57th Street, everybody. You have your primary suite. You're going to be able to see one of my favorite buildings on New York City's Billionaires Row all the way on the east side. Look at that. Right from your primary, you could check in on your friends at 432 Park Avenue, and you have a front row view of what's going on down at the street below on 57th Street. And it looks like something's going on because you have a whole lot of police officers down there. I think it's a UN week coming up next week, so perhaps that is what that's about. And then this is overlooking 57th Street. Very elegantly done. Even over here, you have a little bit of a home office setup. You have your TV here. Again, partial views of the park. You could sit down here, read a book, while looking all the way down 57th Street. And to 432 Park Avenue. And 53 West 53rd Street. Pretty cool. And the windows are double pane glass. So it is very quiet in here. I'll show you the closet space. This is like a whole room in and of itself. This is a massive, massive walk-in closet. It's absolutely tremendous. Right off that primary. And now we'll check out some of the guest bedrooms, which are also quite nice. You have ensuite bath in every single bedroom in the apartment. You'll have your floating toilet here, your floating vanity, and your walk-in steam shower, which is quite nice. Again, marble everywhere. Nice chrome finishes. Generous sized bathrooms and generous sized bedrooms as well. Here's guest bedroom number 1. A little bit of a TV setup, and then of course, those floor to ceiling glass windows overlooking 57th Street. 53 West 53rd Street here. So you're going to get a pretty nice sunset from these rooms. From the kitchen side, you're looking north. From the bedroom side, you're looking south. You get a nice variety of views. And then again, as you turn this corner, look at how cool that is. You're looking right into Central Park and your kitchen. It's the most stunning thing. Quickly check out bedroom number 3, or guest bedroom number 2, main bedroom number 3. Again, the first thing you're drawn to are those big floor-to-ceiling glass windows. Little work desk here. Some great views into Midtown Manhattan. And again, overlooking 57th Street. It's really quite nice. Let me know what you guys think. I wanted to bring you inside some of the apartments of all these buildings we're talking about to give you a variety of what's available in New York City. And to maybe open your mind that, you know, these buildings on Billionaires Row aren't so bad. I know a lot of our audience likes the Art Deco architecture, but once you're inside an apartment at 157, looking over Central Park, I think your perspective is going to change even just a little bit. So I would say if you want to maximize views, you got to go with the newer buildings, particularly 157, Steinway Tower, and the like. We'll head back down to the street level, and we'll continue on with our tour. Kitchen one more time. That's my favorite feature. If you close that door, totally secluded off, and you have that powder room to service your guests, and Central Park views. Well, what'd you guys think? That was unit 35F. It's a very unique unit. As I said before while we were up there, my favorite thing about the unit is the layout. And it's very hard to get the layouts right in those buildings because they're so skinny. But you have the whole entertaining space up front, and you close that door, you have all the bedrooms in the back,